Now we'll continue with our recap of Blackpool, but we'll move over to the first ever women's match play, which became the first event the PDC ever held in Blackpool that wasn't won by an American the first year, as it was a first TV title since becoming the Queen of the Palace for Fallon Sherrock, believe it or not. Of course, she has made a final since then in the PDC. How important was this win, though, for Fallon going into the rest of the year?
Yeah, I think it was an important win for her. And as you say, not her first TV title that she's won. She's won titles on TV before in the BDO, the last one being the 2018 BDO World Trophy. And as you heard earlier in the interview, Hannah mentioned that win to her in the press conference. And it must feel like a long time ago for Fallon, that title, considering what she's gone on to achieve in the game since then. The history-making wins at Ali Pali. Last year, the World Series final, as you mentioned, the Grand Slam, getting to the quarterfinals and becoming one of the most famous, one of the most recognisable players in darts. And with that, obviously comes a lot of attention, a lot of pressure to perform every time you go up on the stage. And watching it on Sunday afternoon, she did have a tough run to get the title, even the first round. We've spoken about Katie Sheldon, her opponent, a few times this year. She's really making some strides, and she pushed Fallon close, 4-2 in that first round, that short format, first to four legs. So it was a close test for the first round. Lorraine Winstanley, 5-2 in the semi-finals, the third seed, one of the toughest players she could have come up against in the semi-finals. And Eileen de Graaf getting past Lisa Ashton, she deserves some credit, beating Lisa 5-4 in that semi-final. And Fallon didn't have it all her own way in the final. She was 3-2 down. She missed a few doubles early on in that final, Eileen taking the lead, but she comes back from that disappointment, a 180, a 1-4-2 finish to get it back to 3-all, a couple of scrappy legs in there, but held throw in 14 darts in that one as well. And even in the last leg, I think just matching or bettering Eileen's score in each visit and finishing it off with that 85 finish on double five to get over the line. And yeah, there's a lot to play for Fallon for the rest of the year. She's going to be going to the World Series very soon in Australia and New Zealand. Those events held over from 2020. She's going to be in the Grand Slam, and you'd back her to finish in the top two of the Women's Series and get that spot in the PDC World Championship as well. So, there's a lot going for her. And I think winning a title on TV, we could see how much it meant to her as well, to be the first name on that trophy. And we're going to come on to talk about how prestigious this Women's World Matchplay is in a moment. But there's no getting away that she has come through a quality field to win it. And we know Fallon, she loves playing on the stage. There were a few nervy performances that afternoon, and to be expected. There's a few players making their TV debuts, a few players that haven't got a lot of recent experience playing on TV, but that's something that Fallon does have. She's played a lot on TV the last few years, and I think that's shown at key moments in that afternoon, that session, to get over the line and come through those three games. And I just hope that we do see her give that WDF Women's World Championship a go next year, and even before that, the World Masters. We know that's going to be a huge field. TV coverage we don't know about yet, but they're two titles that she's not won before, and they both carry a lot of history in the game. And if she could back up this Women's World Matchplay, go and win a World Masters and a World Championship in the WDF, a Women's World Championship, I think she'd go into both of those events with a lot of confidence that she could add those titles to her CV. So for me, yeah, confidence-wise, it's going to do a lot for her winning the title, being the player at the end lifting the trophy, and hopefully we're going to see her compete in a lot more women's events on TV and maybe add a few more titles to her collection.
Yeah, I think the confidence is the key thing. And that's, I think, something that's been missing from her game much of this year. And I don't know why she fell off so much this year compared to how she was performing at the back end of last year. But there was definitely a significant regression starting at Q School and continuing when we've seen her play pretty much everything so far this year. Even when she was winning titles in the women's series, it was less frequently, and she was not playing nearly as consistently and as well as she has for the last few years. And it brought some question marks going into here. I thought she had a difficult draw with Katie Sheldon in the first round, and it showed. Katie Sheldon, had some big outs to stay in the match, but was up ahead, was up a break at 2-1. It easily could have ended up being 4-2 the other way. But Fallon hit the right shots at the right time. Fallon's scoring was incredible against Lorraine Winstanley, but she missed a heap of doubles in that match, and that's why she only averaged 81.5 as opposed to, for a while she was averaging in the 90s, and probably would have averaged well into the 90s if her doubling hadn't deserted her in that match. There still are some question marks about her game. She was not playing at the level that she was at the back end of last year, but she didn't need to win this title. She lifted her game when she needed to against Katie Sheldon, and beyond that, she wasn't really ever in doubt the rest of the afternoon. And it should give her some confidence that she can play at least at a steady level, even when she's not at her best. A steady level is not going to compete in the World Series. She's going to have to lift her game. She's going to have to find that game that we know she has, because she's brought it countless times before on the biggest stages in darts. She's done it at the World Championships. She made a final at the Nordic Darts Masters. She made it to the quarterfinals, where she pushed the best player at that time in the world all the way in that match. But she's going to have to find that game again if she's going to contend in Australia and New Zealand. But it's going to give her some confidence that the worst of it is behind her. Whatever was plaguing her development for the first half of this year, it looks like it's behind her, because she played at a much better level than that. But again, and for that reason, I should say, it is very important. But she's still going to have to lift her game to justify being the face of world darts as she has become, because playing at the level she's had for much of this year, and even with the misses and doubles that she had in Blackpool, isn't going to cut it. But we'll see. She's done it before, and I'd expect she'll do it again.